لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء، تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم، كما قال عز شانه: كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت، وقال: كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات. سبحان الله الذي منه خليقة العباد وإليه المعاد. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه، يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء. تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفو تفضل. الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. والحمد لله على رسول المسدد المحمود الأحمد بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتاب المجيد والفرقان الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقل رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Last week, just because we had finished a few days earlier the birth of our 12th Imam, we decided to speak briefly about it, and we discussed the caliber and the types of personalities that were the first four Safirs or the ambassadors or the direct appointees of the Imam during the period of Ghaibat-e-Sughra, which lasted about 69 to 70 years. And we concluded with the idea that we all have the capacity within ourselves to become useful to the Imam when he appears. Right? We all have the capacity. It is within us to find that and to be able to elevate ourselves so that we can be of service to him. And the idea of sharing that was to see that these were, shall we say, ordinary people. They were not great ulama or anything like that. And Imam chose those people. And there is no reason why he cannot choose us if we decide to elevate ourselves to that level. Today, I just want to go through a process of trying to see what will be the signs before he appears. And I also mentioned last week that we all say وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ, right? May Allah hasten his appearance. Do we really mean it? Or is it just lip service? Are we ready for him? Or when he does show up, we'll say, I'll take a rain check on you for now. Or can you come back after 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is, that excuse that we can come up with. So think carefully and understand what you mean when you say وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ. Right? Do not stop saying. I'm not saying don't say that. Yeah, it's very important because you are now trying to establish that link with your Imam. Right? When you keep on mentioning somebody, then you keep on thinking about somebody. Right? It's very, very important. When you mention something, you will keep on thinking about it. And the idea is not to say wajil farajam and forget it. And just for a moment, sometime, when you are driving on a long drive or something, just ask yourself, what did I just say? You know, we are now instinctively saying wajil farajam after salawat. We don't even really know what we are saying. But for a moment, pause and say, what did I just say? Right? Or for example, it is customary that when somebody asks you to do something, you say, inshallah. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Do you mean that? Yeah. When you want to, see, if I invite you and you want to come, you will say, I'll be there. Well, when you are not sure or you don't want to come, you will say, inshallah. Pass the blame on Allah. Right? So be very careful. The point I'm trying to get across is, please think about it. Think about what wa'ajjal farajahum means. All right? So the books mention a lot of signs. Some may have already happened. Some are going to happen down the line. So we just run through an idea, so we have an idea of what it is. And this is a fascinating subject. I can still come for another 6 weeks and still talk about it, right? But I'm trying to bring it down to the bare level, with the intention being that it sparks enough of an interest that you can go and look for information yourself. That's the bottom line, okay? So the actual time of the appearance is only known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The Imam probably doesn't even know that until he is ordered that now you go, right? So only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Allah has these two pieces of knowledge exclusively with him. One when the Imam will appear, and one when the day of Qiyamah will happen, right? Only Allah knows. Nobody knows that part of it. But indications are given to us by the Aimma in the Ahadith. It will be the day of Friday, the day of Jummah. It will be this particular day of Jummah. It will be there when he will show up. It will be the day of Ashura. Alaikum salam. It will be the day of Ashura, the 10th of Muharram. The century will be an odd number. So this one is 1444. So let's say 1445, or that type of, or it could be 2342 or something like that. So Allah knows best. There will be both a solar and lunar eclipse in the month of Ramadan, but contrary to all norms and calculations. These days, if the scientists can tell you when there is going to be a solar eclipse, when there is going to be a lunar eclipse, and they can project it down the line for the next 100 years or so, right? But Allah's hand, all this is Allah's creation. If He wishes to change something, He can. It's not a big deal for Him, right? So there will be, despite the calculations, there will be a solar and lunar eclipse in the month of Ramadan. A voice will be heard announcing the appearance of Imam, which will be heard by everybody in this world in their own language. In their own language. So it's not like that the Imam will only speak Arabic. No. Everybody will hear this voice telling him that the Imam has appeared, and it will all be in their own language. So everybody will understand. Imam Ali alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He's relating to one of his ashab, Sa'asa bin Sohan. Yeah? He says, there will be a loud noise from the sky which the eardrums will pierce. Nasibain, which is known, Nasibain, according to they tell us that's Iraq, will burn on all four sides. What that means, I have no idea. Okay, it is subject to interpretation. Basra will be abandoned. Basra is the south, right? Turkey will be ruled by the Uthmanis. It may have already happened, right? People will usurp that which they are trusted with. Amana. They will be khain, right? They will usurp the amana. It's just to give you an idea only. I mean, I'm not saying we're doing that, but to just give you an idea. You deposit, you leave $100,000 with me. You're going away something, or you loan me, or whatever. You ask me to safekeeping. I keep it with me. You come back 2 months, 3 months later, you ask for it. I know I'm going to give it, but my bank balance looks good with your money. Right? My bank balance looks good. Extra 6 figures there, right? It was minus, now it's plus 6 figures, right? So I hesitate to give it to you. I will delay in giving it to you, and so on and so forth, right? These are the stepping stones towards becoming somebody who's going to usurp somebody. Or any and amana does not necessarily mean money. Huh? Amana can also mean somebody's secrets, right? Amana has a wider range. You know something about somebody, don't mention it. He has entrusted that with you. He sounded you out for advice, right? And this reminds me of that beautiful story that you may have remembered. During the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, there was a drought. There was a drought, and the people came to Musa alayhi salam and said that Musa, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that this drought can end. We will die. There is no food growing, nothing is happening, the animals are dying, so on and so forth. So Musa did munajat to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah said, Musa, there is one person amongst your people who has done so much evil that because of him I am stopping the rain. I am stopping the rain. If he comes out, then we will. So Musa alayhi salam announced that the following day we will go all out and we will do the amals for the rain and so on and so forth. But then he got this message that there was one person who was this. So he said there was this one person up here. Now everybody is looking at everybody and say, who is this person? Right? Now this person who, because of him the rain was stopped, a thought crossed his mind that here I am going to be ashamed in front of all these people. My community will get rid of me. It is because of me. So he sincerely prayed to Allah and says, oh Allah, if you keep my izzah, my integrity and my name here, then I promise that I shall never do this again. Right? And then the rain started. When he did that, Allah accepted his dua, the rain started. So afterwards, Allah Musa alayhi salam in his munajat, he says, Allah, can you tell me who it was? Allah says, absolutely not. I am Sattarul Uyub. I cover the faults of people. Right? I cover the faults of people. I do not announce. Musa, he prayed to me, I accepted it, that was sufficient, the rain has come back. Right? So very, very important that the idea of amana is extended. It is not only money. Right? People will kill salah. It does not mean it will be abandoned, but its essence will be destroyed. Right? People will not stop you from salat. But the salah becomes just a ritual, an exercise, shall we say, that we do this to please ourselves, that we have prayed. What we prayed, how we prayed, Allahu Alam. Right? The moment I say Allahu Akbar, I remember what I have forgotten to do. Which are the people that I have to, make telephone calls to or send a message to and everything. Everything that I have forgotten, pray to Rakat Namaz, you remember all of it. Right? This is the level of my salat, right? So this is what it means up here. People will carry music in their pockets. We all know that. Right? Technology has brought that about to such an extent now that we already see that. And the fifth, sixth, and the seventh Imams have said that a great man from the people of Qum will rise up and take a stand. He will invite people towards the truth. Brave people like strong mountains, not fearing fighting and having trust in Allah, will come to his help. Finally, the enemy of Islam will withdraw. The rule of Islamic law will be established by the people themselves. Now, whether that is the revolution in Iran or there is something still to come, Allah knows best. Allah knows best, right? Kufa will become barren of Islamic knowledge, while Qum will become the center of Islamic fiqh. So much so that it will spread throughout the world that not a single person will remain ignorant of the message of Islam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Do you think that you and I migrated up here out of our own free will? There was a plan. There was a plan. And likewise you go, Allah has chosen these ways to make sure that the message of Islam will get to every corner of the world. Right? Even in the furthest corners of the Amazon forest, or in the north, or in the south, or in the Australian desert, or in the Russian tundra, wherever it might be, the message of Islam will get there. So when the announcement will come, everybody will understand in their own language what is being said. Right? It is not something strange that will be said to them. These people who will be standing up for Islam will be the vicegerents of the 12th Imam. Their rule will their rule will continue and link with the rule of the 12th Imam. They will not entrust the rule established by them to any but the Imam on his appearance. So what I am trying to say here is, what this means is that there will be a rule, and when the Imam comes, they will hand over the rulership to Imam. Unlike, think of me, if I became the president of the country and the Imam comes, says, I'm the ruler, I'm the prime minister, I'm the king, or no, not him, no. These people are so staunch, so firm, they will hand over. Sufiani will appear. He will be a Jew, but will make himself apparent as a Muslim. He will be supported fully by the Christian governments, and his mission will be to destroy Shias. He will offer booty to anyone who kills a Shia. The result will be such that even neighbors who have lived as brothers for years will kill Shias for money. He will be finally killed by Prophet Isa alayhi salam. The Imam will appear in Makkah, and his zuhur will be in 2 stages, similar to the, the announcement of the prophethood by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? First he did, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. The first stage, that it will be in secret and not announced to all, only to close followers. This is what the Prophet did. Yeah, the Ashirat al-Akrabin, right? He talked to the family first, and then it came out into public. The next one will be the open announcement on the day of Ashura. In the Zilhijj, prior to the Muharram that is coming, the 40 Mu'mineen who will be Imam's closest companions will realize the nearness of Zuhur and will go for Hajj. They will not return home, and on the 15th of Zilhajj, they will go to the Kaaba and weep a lot. One of them will be called by the Imam, introduced, and told to be the representative of the 40. So he will be appointed as the representative. They will all meet Imam between the 16th and the 22nd of Zilhijjah. Imam will tell them that one of them will have to announce the arrival of the Imam at the door of the Kaaba, but whoever would do this will be killed immediately. On the 25th of Zilhijjah, the announcement will be made, and the announcer will be killed. This is the blood of Nafs-e Zakiyya, the pure soul, right, that you hear about, right? This is Nafs-e Zakiyya. Those whose blood will touch the Kaaba and who is mentioned in numerous places. His blood will be avenged 2 weeks later when the Imam will appear himself at the Kaaba. Those who answer the first call will be 313 in number. We all love that number, right? We all know, we all hope we can be part of them. Right? The Imam's army will consist of 10,000 mu'mineen. Imam will establish his government in Kufa and his treasury in Masjidus Sahla. Right? We all, for those of us who have gone to Iraq and we have done amals on the Wednesday nights, right? At Masjidus Sahla, for those that have not been, may Allah grant you an opportunity very quickly, inshallah. And for all of us, inshallah, another opportunity to go. Yeah? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Even if the entire duration of the world's existence has already been exhausted and only one day is left before the day of Qiyamah, Allah will expand that day to such a length of time as to accommodate the kingdom of a person from my Ahlul Bayt who will be called by name. He will fill out the earth with injustice as it will have been full of injustice and tyranny. So the rule of the Imam is going to happen. Yeah, it will definitely happen. There is no doubt about that. Another prediction is that 60 impostors will claim to be prophets. By their attractiveness, their persuasion, and their personality, they will misguide the people. 58 false prophets have already emerged since the days of the Prophet. We have 2 more to witness. And another hadith says, it is reported that the Mahdi will not appear until 1/3 of the whole population will die by being killed, and 1/3 will die as a result of epidemics. Right? So 1/3 will remain. Now, at the moment, they're talking about 8 billion people, 8,000 million people. Right? By that time, who knows where it will go? Right? Where it will go. About 100 years ago, we were about a billion and a half, 2 billion or so. Now in this 100 years, it has, the graph is exponentially growing. And there is a hadith from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, that for 3 or 7 consecutive days, one will see reddish yellow fire raging in the east. Sufiani will emerge in Palestine, where he will start a revolt in the month of Rajab. He will be an uncompassionate rebel, and his rule will last for 8 consecutive months. These will be 8 consecutive bloody months. He will conquer and rule Egypt for 4 consecutive months. He will also conquer Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Jordan, and Syria. Sufiani has been specifically described by Imam alayhimussalam as an ugly, blistered, green-eyed, cross-eyed person who will be the enemy of the friends of the Ahlul Bayt. Imam Ali alayhi salam has said that Sufiani's hatred of the devotees of the Ahlul Bayt will be such that any person named Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, Ruqayya will be arrested and beheaded straight away without further investigation. Tighten your belts. The ride is going to get rough, right? Very, very, very rough, right? Sufiani will rip the member of the Holy Prophet. The holy house of the Prophet, which contains his grave, will be pulled and used as a stable. Horses will be tied in the holy place. Yazid did that also. Yazid did that also after Yazid ruled for 3 years. First year he killed Imam Hussein, second year he attacked Medina, third year he attacked Makkah. Right? Something similar. Sufiani will then decide to attack Makkah. His purpose would be to demolish the holy Kaaba. How many have come? Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil wa arsala alayhim tayran ababil tarmihim bihijaratin min sijil faj'alahu ka'asfin ma'kul. Right? Allah threw the birds with a beak with a stone, and they destroyed the elephants of Abraha there. So he will try to demolish. He will set out via Baghdad, but as Allah would have it, they will get between Medina and Makkah. In the desert of Baida, suddenly one night they will hear a voice from the sky which will say, "O Baida, eat up the entire army of Sufiani." It is said that the entire army, numbering 100,000 persons, will be swallowed by the earth except for 2. Those 2 will be spared, will suddenly encounter an angel. He will slap both of them, turning their faces round, looking back behind instead of front. And that will be the time when the Imam will have already appeared in Makkah. The Imam will establish his authority in the holy mosque at Makkah, in the Haram. The angel will then order one of them, calling him Bashir. "O Bashir, go straight to Makkah, into the Haram, and inform the Imam that Sufiani's army has been swallowed up by the land." The other, called Nadir, will be ordered to go to Sufiani and tell him that the Imam has already appeared. He will proceed straight to Makkah and declare allegiance to him. Sufiani will prepare to attack the Imam, but will not have enough courage. The Imam will catch Sufiani in Jerusalem and will kill him. Finally, just a summary, very quickly, a summary. These are 9 definite signs that will precede the emergence of the zuhur of the Imam. Dajjal will appear, will emerge. A loud voice will be heard. We talked about that. Sufiani will appear and wage a fierce war. We know about that. His army will be swallowed. We heard about that. Nafs Zakiya will be killed. We talked about that, right? The army of Sayyid Hassan and an image of a man will appear in the sky opposite the sun. There will be 2 eclipses, and on 3 occasions a loud voice from the sky will be heard in the holy month of Ramadan. So this is just a quick summary of what the books tell us. There is much more out there, but an idea. And the whole idea of sharing this, again I repeat, is to make sure that we understand who our Imam is, what our responsibilities to our Imam are, And when we say وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ, we understand what we are saying, and we prepare ourselves so that when the time comes, that we are present and be available to be of service to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, give us that tawfiq to be able to recognize our Imam when he does appear, or if we meet him, and to be of assistance to him, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله عليه وآله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبضعة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى الحسن المجتبى. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصل الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واقهل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Is it possible to meet the Imam? Yes, it is. Whether we recognize him or not is another story, right? The recognition is based on each one's ma'rifah and understanding of who you are asking for. Imam is known to meet a believer on 3 occasions. He is present at every Hajj. At every Hajj, he is there. And you encounter him. There is a possibility when you eventually, inshallah, will see him, we'll all see him, we will say, I met him, I know him, right? But we did not know. He attends the funeral of every believer who has no religious obligations pending on him. For example, if we die and there is no homes, there is no zakat, there is no hajj, all the wajibat that I'm supposed to do are all done. And if I'm a mu'min, Imam inshallah will visit. Right? He will attend the funeral. And if he puts his hand on my grave afterwards and says, Allahumma afwaka afwak, oh Allah, forgive us, I consider that dua will not be rejected, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept that, and that might be yours and my passport to Jannah, inshallah, right? And Imam is there at the time of trouble. Whenever you are in difficulties, call on him. Call on him. Ya sahib zaman adrikni. Oh, the master of my age, come to me. I'll share this one story with you that I have shared in a different context before. Very quickly, many years ago, just before the revolution in Iran, there was, this was in the early 70s, there was this young fella was traveling on a bus, and next to him sat an alim. Now when you're traveling on a bus, you like to talk to the companion to pass the time, right? Just to see what's going on. So he was traveling with him, but the way he was dressed, the alim said, let's see how it goes. I don't know. Those days, the status of ulama the ulama were not viewed that highly as they are now, right? Anyhow, as the bus went for a few hours, then all of a sudden, this boy gets up, goes to the bus driver and says, bus driver, stop. Stop this bus right now. He says, why? The stop is still a couple of hours away. He says, no, it is the time for namaz. It is Dhuhr time right now. He says, stop. Bus driver says, we have plenty of time before it is going to be qada. At the next stop, we stop. We will worry about it then. So the boy was very, very insistent. He said, no, stop. So now the alim says he got up and a few others got up, went to the bus driver and says, oh, bus driver, this boy is making a reasonable request. Why don't you stop? Let us all pray. It is time for namaz after all. Let us all pray and then don't stop at the next stop. Just move on. So they convinced him, he stopped. Anyhow, they prayed, they got back onto the bus and the bus started moving. Now the alim turns to the boy and says, my son, what was all that about? What was all that about? He says, let me tell you a story. He says, one day I was traveling. He says, I'm a medical student. One day I was traveling for my exams and the bus broke down in the middle of the road. So the bus driver said, stop the bus. He tried to fix it, nothing worked. And so he says, ladies and gentlemen, just enjoy yourself. We have to wait for help. I've called for help. Those days there was no cell phones. You had to either send a message through or use a public phone. These young fellows will have no idea what that means. A public phone call, they have no idea what that means, right? But anyhow, you can explain it to them some other time. But anyhow, so he says, all of you get out. We wait. So an hour pass, 2 hours pass, 3 hours pass. So this boy says, I went to the bus driver and says, bus driver, I have a very important exam to make. If I don't make that, I stand to risk everything. I stand to risk everything that all these years of mine, I stand to risk. Can you do something? He said, the bus driver turned to him and says, oh, my son, forget about your exam, forget about everything. I can do nothing more. I've called for help. When the help comes, we'll see what happens. So he says, I was lost in thought. This was so important to me that I was totally in my zone. And I remembered that my grandmother, whenever she used to be in difficulty, she would call out, Ya Sahibuz Zaman Adrikni. Right? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. But he says, I have no idea who she was calling. I have no idea. I got nothing to do with religion, right? I got nothing to do with religion, right? So he says, I was so much that I had nothing left for me. So I stood by the side and says, oh, Sahibuz Zaman of my grandmother. Oh, Sahibuz Zaman of my grandmother, if you help me, I promise that I shall pray and pray on time. So he says, I made that ahad with him. And I was watching it, and suddenly after a little while, somebody comes out from somewhere, comes to the bus driver, says, open the hood, goes there, tinkers around with it, and says, okay, go start the bus. So he starts the bus and the engine starts. So the driver says, okay, everybody board. So as the elders were all boarding up there, and I was waiting out there, this man who came to him and turns to me and says, my son, don't forget your promise. My son, don't forget your promise. And with that, he disappeared. From that day onwards, I have always prayed on time. Not prayed only, but I have always prayed on time. Fadila time. There is time, there is fadila time, and there is time, right? Fadila time, right with the greatest thawab is when you pray fadila time. Anyhow, so this is that. So when you are in trouble, don't despair. Why despair? Despair for what? We have solutions. We are the followers of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Turn to them. They are waiting. Their hand is extended. They say, extend your hand. Just give me your hand and I will hold it for you. Right? But I must extend that hand, right? Do that. So at the time of trouble. In his books, Elixir of Love, very nice book, very easy read, probably available out there. Read it. It's a fun read and a lot of good information. There's a talk about Sheikh Rajab Ali Khayyat. He's a tailor, but who has achieved highest spiritual level. And he says, one day, I shared one last week. Today, just a couple more, and with this we finish. He says that two shopkeepers undertook, they lived in the Mahalla of Sadat. They were living in a community where the Sadat were there, and there were many poor Sadat there. So they decided that they will, amongst themselves, the shopkeepers, take care of the poor Sadat. And one of them had gone to the Sheikh and asked for amals to be able to see the Imam. So Imam told him, do this tasbih that I shared last week, but just for those that were not present. Surah number 17, ayat number 80. 1780. وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ صِدْقٍ وَاجْعَلْنِي مِنْ لَدُنْكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا. If you read one tasbih every day for 40 days, inshallah, you will meet the Imam. Right? If you do that, one tasbih, that's 100 times, for 40 days, inshallah, you will meet the Imam. So the Shaykh had told this man. So he had done this dhikr. He says, before the 40th night, one of the children of the Sadat family came to him and says, my mother is asking for a bar of soap. My mother is asking. So for some reason, he was in a bad mood. He says, why are you bothering me? Why can't you go to the next store? I mean, there are two stores that have agreed. He says, children ask for small stuff, right? So mother says, ask for a bar of soap. He says, go to the other store. And I don't know whether he gave it to him or not. He fell asleep. He says, at night, I was asleep when somebody rang my door. Now, if you're in the middle of the night and somebody rings your door, you think you're having a bad nightmare, right? But you are up half awake. Now, so he ignored it. Next time round, the ring became louder. So now he's awake. He's already awake now, and he's hoping that this person will go away. Right? The third time round, the bell rings, and his name is called out. He's called out by name, and so he says, wow, now this is serious. This person knows who I am. It's just not an ordinary person. There's somebody who knows who I am. So he goes down, opens the door, and he sees somebody standing in front of him with his face covered, and he says just this much to him: we can take care of our children, we are just giving you the honor of doing it. We can take care of our children. The Imam is a Sayyid, the Sadat are his children, we are giving you the opportunity of servicing them, otherwise we'll take care of them, right? So Imam sent him a message, and he also did his ziyarat also, right? He didn't see him, right, by his face, but because he had done these amals, the Imam had appeared. And finally, just one more. A man decides to do visit the amals, does all these amals, nothing happens, and he now is seated in a store and is all perplexed and worried. And so the shopkeeper says, what's the problem? The shopkeeper is dealing with somebody, and he says, what's the problem? He says, yeah, no issues. No issues, I have done these amals and so forth. So then an old woman walks in. She has a lock. With her shaking hand, she comes to the shopkeeper and tells the shopkeeper, for God's sake, can you buy this from me for $3? I'm putting it in dollars so we can understand, okay, in that currency, whatever it was. The locksmith took a look at the lock and found it intact and said, my sister, this lock as it is valued at $8. The key will cost no more than $2. So if you give me $2, I will make a key to this lock, and then it will be worth $10. She replied, no, I do not need that. I only need the money. If you buy this lock from me for $3, I will pray for you. The old man, the shopkeeper replied, my sister, you are a Muslimah, and I too claim to be a Muslim. Why should I buy a Muslim's property for a low price and deny somebody's right? This lock is already valued at $8. If I want to benefit from it, I will buy it for you for $7. For it is unfair to make a profit of more than $1 in a deal of $8. Right? This woman had come for $3. This man is saying your lock is worth $8. If you get a key, it's worth $10. But if you want me to buy it, I will buy it for $7 instead of $8. I'm a businessman, I got to make a profit. The woman could not believe what she was hearing. She was here for $3. She was now getting $7 out of this deal, and she was extremely happy. When she left, the shopkeeper had been talking to this other person, and this man who had done the amals. The other person turns to this man and turns to him and says, did you see the honesty of these people? People were trying to take advantage of this old lady in her desperation, but he paid her the real price. Thus, every week, I pay a visit to him and show kindness and amiability to him. You don't have to do the amals. Be like him, I will come. Be like him and I will come himself. So the point here is very, very important. If we want to visit with the Imam, if we want to see the Imam, if we want the Imam to be of guidance to us and so on and so forth, we must elevate ourselves and understand what do they stand for, what do I stand for. Can I bring this in line with what they stand for? And with that way we can move forward. Finally, if people tell you, all this is mumbo jumbo, this is all stories of the air and so on and so forth and so forth, and people will do that, remember this last ayat of Surah Ar-Rum, Surah number 30, ayat number 60. Last ayat of Surah Rum. فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. So patiently persevere. Verily the promise of Allah is true, nor let those shake your firmness who themselves have no certainty of faith. So have your iman, trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah we will be on the path of khair. Don't let those that do not have iman bring us away and cast doubt within ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to be able to have the ma'rifah, the knowledge of the Imam, and may He grant us the opportunity to be of service to him and to meet with him and to be able to recognize him and to be of assistance to him. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar wal baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Allahumma salli ala